Welcome to Add It Up, the podcast that makes ad tech make sense, even if you've never worked in advertising a day in your life. In this series, we take complex stuff and we break it down into simple, everyday language. Because in an industry full of acronyms and jargon, it shouldn't be this hard to understand what's really going on. I'm ksanford from Mediaocean, and whether you're brushing up, just learning something new, or honestly just curious, I'm glad you're here. Hi there, and welcome to episode 2 of Add It Up. Last time, we gave a brief introduction to the major players in ad tech. Now, we're going to dive a little bit deeper. So we're going to talk about the advertising ecosystem as a whole and the key parts of a campaign. So, chapter 1, creative. Let's start where every campaign begins, the creative. Now, I'm sure you heard us mention this in our last episode, but the creative just means the ad. And it's important because it contains the story that they want to tell. But the important thing to remember is that creative normally isn't just one ad. At least it probably shouldn't be. It's usually dozens, sometimes hundreds of different variations built for different audiences and different platforms. So to get an idea of what this looks like, let's imagine an automotive company. They're going to want to advertise to a lot of different people, right? For example, someone might want a truck, but another person might want a van. Some people prioritize features over anything, and others, price. Some people spend a lot of time looking for cars online, while some just discover one they like while they're streaming something. The goal of the brand is to get a relevant ad to the right person in the right place at the right time. That makes sure they make the most impact. So that probably means they're going to have a lot of variations, right? Probably one for streaming, one for social, one for mobile, and they might even have different versions depending on where the person lives, what they've purchased, or even their search history. But here's the challenge. How do they do that? How do brands create and manage so many different variations? Especially when you consider that consumers like you and me are constantly moving across different platforms. You might be watching something on TV one moment and then going on your phone to go on social the next. And then the next moment you take out your laptop to Google something. If you're a small business, you might be able to manage reaching all these people manually yourself. But when you think about large brands that are managing thousands or even millions of potential customers and different touch points, it becomes impossible. So that's where ad tech comes in. These technologies help these brands to automate making their ads and their creative at scale. It makes it easier for them to manage these huge campaigns and ensure that their ads are reaching the right people at the right time. Chapter 2. Measurement. Okay, but what about after that? So you have your ad live, but once it's created and delivered to the right person, the next question is simple. Did it work? Did the right people see it? Did anyone see it? Did they act on it? Chapter 2 brings us to measurement. This is where brands try and answer those questions. But as I'm sure you can guess, it's also where things get really tricky. One of the biggest problems in advertising is that different platforms measure things differently. So an example of what this looks like. One platform might define a view of an ad one way, while another defines it completely differently. And a lot of platforms only make their data available inside their own systems. You might have heard the term walled gardens before. Don't worry if you haven't, but it's where this comes from. A lot of social platforms keep data locked within their own ecosystems, which creates isolated pockets of information. So those isolated pockets are like walled gardens you can't get access to. So this problem, the industry calls a fragmented view of performance. You'll hear the term fragmentation a lot when it comes to ad tech. But that's not the only challenge. There's another one too. Many platforms are essentially grading their own homework. A campaign may appear to have done really, really well inside one platform's reporting system. But that doesn't necessarily mean it performed well across all the others. That's why you'll hear a lot of people talk about unified measurement in ad tech. It's a really important conversation in advertising because it basically means a complete, real-time, unbiased view of how your ads did. So people want that view across platforms, channels, and devices, and they want it in the same language. Now, note, some measurement platforms today can connect these fragmented pieces together. So advertisers can use them to make smarter decisions based on the full picture, not just one platform's version of it. Chapter 3, optimization. Okay, so next topic. Here's where things really start to move. Because remember, insights that aren't acted on are really just data. They're not doing anything for you, right? So measurement tells you what happened, and chapter 3, optimization, is what you do about it. And something to note, today in advertising, optimization isn't something that is usually done at the end of a campaign, but rather something that's happening while it's live and as close to real time as possible. So to give an idea of what that looks like, things like messaging, so what your ad says, your spend, your audience, your variations, and even the platforms themselves can all be updated or adjusted while a campaign is still running to make sure you're getting the best performance possible. So for example, if one version of an ad is doing way better than another, they can adjust so the stronger ad shows more. Or if you have an ad that's not performing well, you can update the messaging or maybe update the visuals a little to try to see if that will do better. So that's one of the reasons you hear the word optimization so much in advertising. It's necessary. Consumers move really fast, so advertising has to move fast with them. Advertisers don't have the luxury to wait until a campaign is over to learn about what worked and what didn't, especially with the amount of money they're putting into these campaigns. So they have to stay relevant and they have to continuously improve as things are happening. Chapter 4, execution. So once an ad spot is purchased, it needs to be set live, aka this chapter, execution. And I know I say this every time, but this is where some complexity really shows up. So campaigns need to be set up, the ads need to be trafficked or set live, monitored, and probably adjusted. And they're usually doing this across dozens of platforms and with multiple partners. So trying to manage all of that, obviously, is no small task. And pressure can really mount because small errors early on really create big problems downstream. For example, issues or inconsistencies with your budget, or an ad ending up in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's why execution in advertising really needs structure. And the way that they get it is through partners. Advertisers will look for partners that help connect their teams, their systems, and their data so that everything runs the way it's supposed to. So again, we'll dive deeper into some of the big players, how execution works, the common headaches, and how they can be fixed in later episodes. But for now, there's a brief summary. So when you step back and you look at all of this, the creative, the measurement, optimization, execution, it's really clear. Ad tech is one large, complex system comprised of parts that ideally should work together. And this doesn't even cover all the players, but you can see that it's necessary to work together. And not to be biased, but from where we sit at Mediaocean, that opportunity to connect them is coming together. Sorry, obligatory plug. Check out our site to learn more. But honestly, in today's advertising industry, that connection isn't really a nice to have anymore. It's becoming necessary. We'll keep diving into each of these parts to get to the nitty-gritty of why and how everything currently fits together in a fragmented industry. But for now, thanks for tuning in. As always, if you found this helpful, please be sure to subscribe. And if there's a topic you'd like us to break down, let me know. I'm always reachable at ksanford@mediaocean.com. See you next time.